Dang, are they like having a connection? Well, that was quick. Oh, it's Ice Cube's son, Oshia.
Oh, yeah, sure enough. I was wondering why he looked familiar.
I heard he was going to be in the show. I just didn't know what role he was going to play. So far, it's very quick recovery. Like in the span of 4 minutes, he gets in. He's like, oh, I can't. I have to get out now.
He's not making it through the episode.
That's
placing
it.
my bets.
She's like 9.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like,
10.
What is the point of this? Like,
Are they already there? Wait, what?
I think it's just...
It's just her?
yeah.
don't know.
No, it's her and Kenobi.
He must still be on the ship.
Like, I'm glad that things are moving forward, but it just feels so like just things are happening.
I feel like she made some pretty bold moves against the Empire to be able to just fly back in.
I love how in the Empire, like, nobody trusts anybody, really.
I know, right? It's not like, oh,
Yeah.
hey, Debbie, good to see you. Got your badge? Yeah.
Right.
All right, going through. Did she just tell him that following procedure was insolence? That was a really long way to drag him.
Yeah, it really was. And I'm surprised he didn't, like, take his suit or whatever.
Yeah. Disguise
You know,
himself.
like a real episode 4 move, but, like...
Ooh, that's why she hates him, guys. She took her
droid.
favorite droid. That's why she's like, it's what I'm owed.
That
It's
is
what I'm
currently
owed,
the
guys.
second best running theory we have between the three of us.
There's no shot they didn't see that.
Oh, well, we're going to ignore that leg that just went up there. This really is an episode all about saving Leia again. You know what's kind of sad? I was really excited to see Owen, Joel Edgerton, phenomenal actor. And he was great in those first scenes we got right in the first episode. But I feel like that was such a marketing lie. They're like, get ready. You're going to see him for literally those 3 scenes in the trailer.
Yo, that's a master from the Clone Wars animated series. That's messed up.
Oh my god.
That face.
That's messed up.
That face.
Yeah, that's sick, dude. I really do feel like Reva is sorry. I don't feel like she wants to do it.
No, yeah, this is the most she's shown emotion. Like,
She's
or at
constantly...
least,
She's had many opportunities to, like, do very terrible things and has not done them.
Well,
Yeah.
she did
No,
also
yeah.
cut off a woman's arm and almost
Yeah.
kill somebody kind of just for nobody answering her question.
That is true. That
She's
is also
pretty-
true.
but I love
pretty
that
reckless.
about her. It's cool lighting. Yeah, oh, okay, that was cool.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Been waiting for something like this to happen.
Yeah, over with.
Come on.
I was born in it.
Molded by it.
Hey guys, he's good with a sword again.
Why? And then you have situations like this where he's literally like, I'm just going to stand here in the middle of nowhere and not feel like I'm going to be attacked in an Empire facility.
Did anyone else just catch that, like, she just put her hand on the stormtrooper's helmet, he kind of, like, fell back, then she placed her hand on the other stormtrooper's helmet, and then somehow, like, find a way to beat them up and shoot them? Like,
This reminds me of Fallen Order.
yes, that's exactly where my mind went to.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly where my mind went to. The writing on this episode is wonky.
There's no water at all that leaked to the sun. No.
Well, they got some
I'm
coming in, but
Like there should be at least like a couple gallons. Like,
yeah, I agree.
oh my god.
What is happening in this episode?
People are idiots in this episode. Everyone.
I don't know who they gave the script to for this episode.
He's like, I did it. Oh.
Oh God, he's moving fast.
I don't feel anything, honestly. I really don't.
That's called apathy. Oh, that's the tracker. I mean, from like a tech standpoint, the show has been consistently good. I think you're right, Rich. The writing in here was so weird. They literally 2 people in a trench coated Leia out of the Empire. Like I'm honestly, I can't tell if I'm like horrified, or if it's so bonkers that I have some kind of ironic respect for it.
Oh my god.
He's like a legendary Jedi, and he's like, "Get in the jacket, kid. We're getting you out of here." I mean, I'm assuming we're kind of, I don't like. I feel like the show wants me to just kind of assume that his Jedi ways are coming back because something important is on the line after so long. I don't know. I'm not so sure about that. I feel like, I mean, I know it's sci-fi and we're dealing with like aliens and all that kind of stuff, but I feel like the show's asking me to suspend a bit more of my disbelief than I'm willing to.
Yep. Well, yeah, and it just doesn't really make sense for the world that they've already established. You know, like
Right.
how long it took other characters to like get back into their zone of being a Jedi or Sith, whatever. And with this, it's like he gets into a fight, he loses dramatically, and you know, to your point, Tim, you were saying like, you know, because he has a reason. I feel like that was a huge reason enough. Like, if that was the case of like, oh, he has a reason, then him fighting Vader, okay, he should know how to fight. Granted, you know, trauma.
Well, Vader is
his
the
brother.
center of his trauma.
Yeah.
Rescuing
That's the
Leia
only
is
reason
not.
why it can be justified is because he's more terrified. I can understand that. But it does seem jarring to be like, he takes one dip, he has some kind of weird flashback sequence or a connection to Anakin, and he's like, I need to get this done now.
It seems like some kind of Force connection is had there.
Yeah, for me, I think to your point, like, this episode, I think more than any other episode we've seen thus far in the show, took dramatic leaps in logic. And I think that, like,
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it's like, you know, as far as the world that they established, to your point, it's like everything that they, established, like, it's like the rules were just like broken. It almost, in a sense, reminded me of like a comedy. Like, some of the things that they were doing, like, seemed like it was literally taken out of a comedy, right? Like, you have these soldiers that literally are staring dead in the direction. It's like not even like they were turning the corner. They were there, walking straight that way. And then we literally see him slow, like, his reaction time was so slow, so delayed. Then he and then it's like somehow they walk by. But then on this tiny little earpiece, or this tiny little speaker, then somehow they hear, you know, Tala's voice, like, calling out to him to check to see, you know, where he's at or whatever. And it's like, what's going on? So,
I could understand them, like, hearing the voice on the speaker if it's like a dead quiet hallway. It's just,
I mean,
I don't get how this world hasn't invented some kind of inner ear communication device.
Yeah.
They have so much technology.
Yeah, they have rebreathers for when they're, you know, in water and all this other kind of stuff. Yeah, it's like, you know, and then for me, so it's like we had that, which was almost like, you know, oh, you know, these kooky troopers, you know, can't even spot, like, it was like that.
These guys.
Yeah, and then it was like, you know, here you have Obi-Wan creeping around, looking around left and right. It's like the way, and I think for me too, like part of that was like the way that was shot. It's like, even though this is more of a technical point, like, I feel like it's valid to make this point in the context of like story and like the world building, because of like how they deployed this kind of shot. It's like, here we see him trying to be stealthy, trying to sneak around, but we have like these wide shots of him like crouching and just looking very weird and like awkward and like clumsy, and it just didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. Like, it really threw off the pace for me, as far as like like with the shots, how they were ramping up the shots, like even with the way that they started the episode, right? They had like a lot of like cuts that were happening like right in the beginning. And like I get it because he was like disoriented and that kind of thing. But that kind of pace, even though it slowed down a little bit, like we saw it was moving. And the kinds of shots that they were using were a lot tighter, unless it was like more establishing shots, that kind of thing. Or someone was doing a certain kind of movement. Then we have him sneaking around, and then we have like these shots of him where he's like contorting his body in a way, and there's no one in the hall. You know what I'm saying? It's like he's ducking down as if people that weren't in the hall wouldn't be able to just see him. Because
it's like he's doing stealth in the moments that don't really need to be. He doesn't need to be stealthy, and then there's moments where he does need to be in stealth mode, where it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's like, and yeah, so it was a very weird visual, and it made for a very, in my opinion, like clumsy telling of that story because of the way that they, like, I won't even just say like shot it, but with the way that they edited it, the way that they put it together, he seemed to be like a bumbling oaf, and then but at the same time he somehow made it through everything, which is like a real comedy premise. And I think that's why, like, for me, it's like it was such an odd thing because on the one hand,
Mr. Beaned the whole rescue.
Yeah, it really, that's like really what it was. That's really what it was like. Like when you look at everything in it, it was like, what is going on? How is this possible? We had the thing with Tala as well, when it's like, here we have literally a room full of people. Now, remember, she's sitting down at the console. She has a thing, which also was ridiculous to me. I'm like, really, you think that's inconspicuous? Like, you're leaning over the console like, Ben, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, you have a dude that's like 3 feet away from you. What are we doing here? Like, what is going on? You already know everyone is, for some weird reason, on ultra high alert. And, like, for some reason, none of these people act like they, like, trust anyone else that's in the Empire. Like, I don't know what's going on here, but okay. Maybe it's like a, super high, ultra high, security place, which I would understand. It seems like it is, kind of like that place. But it's like, here you have, like, all these people around you. Everyone is super suspicious.
Always.
Obi-Wan is like, hey, cause a distraction. Which also, by the way, to me, is like a very big ask. Someone is, like, already, like, putting their credentials on the line in a situation that, like, basically everyone is telling you is, like, a suicide mission. And then you're telling her in this fortress in the middle of an endless ocean to make a distraction with no backup. So, like, that was insane to me, to be honest. Because I was like, I don't know in what realm of reality you think this is, like, going to go well, unless she, like, rigs a vent or something, or makes a sprinkler go off or something. I have no idea what you want her to do. But
she cut the power, didn't she?
Oh, yeah, that is true.
Did she cut
yeah,
the power?
Yeah, she did the power thing. Yeah, that is a good point. So that did make sense. It just did not make a lot of sense to me in the moment.
Well, the thing that didn't make sense to me with this whole episode was the point of it. Personally, like, the biggest thought in my head was this was probably my biggest issue, is that it is the most pointless one. It didn't really add anything personally to me. What it did add, like, there really was no deeper layers of the characters that we didn't already know. It was just more of Reva just trying to get more information, which she didn't really get anything out of it. The only thing that added to the narrative was, oh, there's a tracking beacon on them, right? So that's propelling the story to get what we want, which is Darth Vader getting Obi-Wan. And we don't really get any character development. We just get more of the same that we've seen in previous episodes. So I think that's my issue right now with this whole story. Now that we've had like 68% shown to us, over half now, my worry now is I think, kind of coming true. Granted, there's still only 2, so I will not judge this whole show right now, but I'm worried. I'm 100% worried that we are getting a okay show. And if anything, mediocre. And this is Obi-Wan Kenobi. There is so much that they could be doing, and instead they decided to make it a whole show that's about him saving Leia 2 times now. It took now 68% or whatever the right percentage is of the show to just get that narrative done. Like, I'm assuming now we're done. Like, that part is complete. Now it's about the tracking.
I don't know. Don't speak
but
too
isn't
soon,
that crazy?
bro.
Like,
Don't. It's not over till it's over.
True. She could be captured again. Oh my God. Darth Vader could be the one. Be like, yeah, I will kill her. And then he's like, no. And they fight in Mustafar. Whatever. Maybe he captures her again and brings her to his favorite planet. But it's just, God, I hope that doesn't happen. But I just am very annoyed with this episode. And I think I'd give it like a 5. This episode, it's mediocre because it's pointless. It didn't add anything to the narrative. Like, the only thing it did was the last shot. Was like, oh, okay, they're gonna track him. But literally, like, I'm trying to think right now, what in this episode added really anything new, any layer that we didn't already know. And maybe I am missing something. I'd love to hear from you guys about maybe there was something that was like, whoa, this is such great character work for Reva, for Leia, for Tala, whatever her name is. Like, they introduce like new characters, right? But they don't really, it's just like they're there. Wade died. I don't care. I don't give a crap who Wade is. Sorry your friend who rescued us died. Like, obviously they care. Obi-Wan and the character is grateful. But for me as a viewer, I'm not connecting with any of this.
Yeah.
Like, at all. Like, the only thing I guess I kind of connect maybe at the apathy comment is the Leia scene where they're holding hands. Like, somewhat kind of connected because it's like, yay, you rescued her again. Sorry. I just had to say that. I felt like this episode was just a circle that we already were on. And it wasn't a good circle in the beginning. I don't want to be in this loop. Hopefully we're out of it. We're in a new area now. But I'm worried. I'm officially worried for how this end product is going to be. We're going to get a great fight. I feel like we're going to get a great fight that will only last 5 to 10 minutes. And does that justify a whole show? I don't think so. That's just me. But
I mean, I don't know.
Oh my God, I'm kind of frustrated.
I don't know if worried is the right word for how I'm feeling, because no matter what happens, we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Like, it's not like those are going anywhere. Like I said, I do have the concern of like them pulling some, I don't know if retcon is the right word, but just inserting a narrative between the chapters that is going to either cheapen 3 or cheapen 4 or cheapen both.
Yep.
But I mean, that being said, if the show does end up being bad, if for some godforsaken reason I was imbued with the charge of introducing somebody to the franchise, just skip it. You could just skip it, because to some extent the show has a foregone conclusion, really. I mean, so did Rogue One, but they still found ways to make it meaningful because they had a lot of really likable characters.
Yeah.
But this conclusion is, for the most part, kind of, to some extent, it's foregone. Like, we know what's going to happen with Obi-Wan. We know what's going to happen with Vader in the grand scheme of things. In terms of just, like, strictly this show, Obi-Wan Kenobi, episodes 1 through 4, I do agree that this one probably added the least, and honestly probably didn't even really need to happen. It just didn't really need to happen. I'm, in terms of I'm not quite sure how exactly I'm trying. I guess I'll just put it this way. Sometimes I feel like I gotta be careful what I say, because Jack doesn't edit out a dang thing. I'm honestly, like, In terms of this show, I'm not surprised that Reva lived through it. But in terms of who I've come to know Darth Vader to be, I'm surprised he didn't kill her. Like, even if she put a tracker on the ship. Like,
it's like, cool,
he's
thanks,
killed his
dead.
own admirables pretty flippantly in the past. Like, he's not... I'm honest, like, she still fumbled the ball. They let 2 spies into their network, into their base, who got her out, and then they got surprise attacked on top of it. Like,
yeah, and Leia, who was captured twice,
pretty rough.
was rescued twice.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I'm on it, like, in terms of the show. Let me put it this way: I'm not surprised Disney didn't kill her. I'm more surprised that Vader didn't kill her.
Yeah,
I guess that's the way I would put it. So, and we still have no idea why she's doing this.
Yeah.
Like,
at this point, I don't even know if they're gonna. I mean, I feel like they should do a flashback or something.
If the show doesn't tell us, and it kills her before the season is out, we're just left to assume that it really was like a ladder climb, a power grab.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know he wants this. I'm gonna get him what he wants, and ascend the ladder.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, the tech in the show is good. There's a lot of shots I really appreciate. There's a lot of things that Deborah Chow's doing directing-wise that I can see represented in the visuals that I really appreciate. The writing is very strange. Like, occasionally I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but most of the time it's not. It's what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. There are times where I almost feel like while writing, the script writers just went into standby mode and their fingers just kept moving on the on the keyboard. Because like I said, this episode was basically just, it was kind of a retread of episode 2, but just like spread out to 40 pages.
Yeah.
Instead of the like 12 or 15 pages it probably was in the second episode. So as soon as they kind of showed that she was going to be captured at the end of last week's episode, I was like, oh, it's either going to be a Reva flashback or a rescue mission.
Yeah, and there's nothing to warrant for a Reva flashback right now. Like, there's nothing in her character that would be like, man, I'm going to have this moment where I need to rethink about, like, that moment with Vader could have been a really epic moment of her being really terrified, which you do see somewhat a little bit in the very beginning of that sequence, but not really. It's not like it gives her any focal point of a narrative to be like, wow, I need to rethink my relationship with...
You mean the moment where he's holding her in the air?
Yeah, just like that whole sequence, I felt like, yeah, she, oh my gosh, she could die or whatever, but it didn't really, by the end of it, it could have done something unique. It could have given her, like, I don't know, a look of disbelief of, man, he doesn't trust me, or kind of like
She seemed adequately freaked out.
I don't know. It just didn't warrant for me to be like, whoa, like, I'm just waiting for a moment for her to be like, I don't know, start the engines of why am I doing this? Who am I? What have I become? Who I used to be? Because I'm assuming she was a Jedi, right? Because that's how Inquisitors become Inquisitors. They used to be Jedi, and then they become bad Jedi. They become the reverse of Saul to Paul. Like, to me, I haven't witnessed anything with their character that says, we are going to get a very intriguing background from her. The only thing that says that, and it's just a theory, never really plainly says it in the show, is the opening of this entire show, the Order 66 scene. That's the only thing that's hinting towards a complex background for her, which I really do think it is her. But now I feel like they might just show it till episode 6, which is the last episode, which could only be maybe 50 minutes, Like, the longest Disney Plus season finale we've gotten was from Hawkeye, and that was an hour and 10 minutes. I'm praying that this finale is an hour and a half.
Why do you
at this
remember
point?
that?
Dude, I do. I'm so huge about runtimes. I looked up the average too for runtimes for all these Disney Plus shows, and yeah, they're 5 hours. It's 300 minutes long. They're 5 hour long movies. So yeah, there's 6 episodes. They're not 6 hour, long. They're not 1 hour long episodes. They're either 4 hours and 45 minutes or 5 hours.
The credits run long too. I recently watched, not Star Wars, I recently watched Encanto on Zoom with somebody, and I jolted, like physically reacted when the movie ended, because the playhead timer told me there were 20 minutes left when the credits began.
Dude, that's Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I think it's like 22 minutes of end credits. I think it's the long. Yeah. Credits are, it's so random. Like, I think older films back in the day used to be like 3 minutes, maybe 4.
Yeah, some. Yeah.
But now they range between 9 to 20, which is ridiculous. But now these shows are like freaking shows, dudes. These shows are like 40 minutes long, but really it's 35 or 34. It's like 6-minute long credits. You're telling me it's as long as a movie? That's dumb. Like, I remember witnessing that for Mandalorian and being like, oh, okay then, I guess.
I mean, you gotta think though. I mean, like you said, like you keep contextualizing. It's like 5 hour long movies. So you gotta think of like how much of the crew is there, like from episode to episode. But you also gotta think of the tech that they're using now, as well. So like think of all the people that are involved to like film in the volume, for example, like with the Mandalorian. It's like all this stuff that goes into production now is, especially the production that they're doing at their level. I can't even imagine, what really goes into that stuff. But
that,
yeah, I mean, it is, it is, kind of annoying to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to get, however long of an episode, like, 40 minutes, 45 minutes or whatever. And then it turns out to be like 35, or something like that, or even less. It's just like, okay, because it's like in your mind, a timer is going on and you're like, watching the episode. What was that? Was it the last episode where we're like, okay, and then just stopped and we're like, okay.
Yep.
Like, all right.
Episode
so
3.
that's the end.
You were like, what?
Like,
what?
all right.
I remembered that, dude.
So I think that is, kind of one of those things with the credits. But for me, I mean, it seems like everyone is kind of at a consensus as far as like this one being like one of the weaker, if not the weakest of the episodes. It's like if I were to watch this show, I didn't know anything about Star Wars, right? And like this is another thing I think that's like, I don't know. It's just I think it's nice to think of like, kind of like reviews or the way that I like, think about reviewing something, in like a couple different ways. One, as someone that like knows the context of like this in context of the grander scheme of things, and then also reviewing it or thinking about it as if like I didn't know any of this stuff. So like if I'm thinking of it just like in itself, right? So I don't know anything about Qui-Gon. I don't know anything about any of that stuff.
Like the show's in a vacuum.
Right, like the show is in a vacuum. Obi-Wan Kenobi, just the show. I think that this episode would make more sense. I think it would make more sense because I wouldn't have any true expectation as to like what should be happening by the end of 6, because as this story is told, it is a cat and mouse story. Obi-Wan Kenobi is a cat and mouse show so far. So, you know, you have Leia who gets taken away. But even before then, so we know Obi-Wan, who is known as Ben, you know, first he seems like some regular guy. But then we see this Owen dude that's like, yo, stop hanging around. And Ben's like, yo, but I got to train him. And you're like, okay, what? So, like, what is this guy or whatever? And then you're like, oh, okay, he's something called a Jedi. And apparently these people are getting hunted down. And then no sooner, like, that they say that, then, boom, Inquisitors are there. Okay, they're not playing around. They're literally hunting these people and killing other people that, like, have nothing to do with anything, chopping their hands off and stuff like that. So we see that going down, and then so now you understand why he's withdrawn, and that kind of thing. Then he's thrust into, you know, finding this girl or whatever. We don't quite know exactly how important she is to the world. We just know that she is important, you know, because she's, you know, the Haverin.
Yeah,
Well,
she's royalty.
Yeah, she's royalty. So you know that she gets kidnapped, whatever. Go find her because, you know, you're our only hope. So then he goes out there, but at the same time, while he's like the finder and the savior, he is also a mouse. And we know that these Inquisitor people are trying to find him in particular. Number one, they're trying to find people like him in general. But there's this one Inquisitor that for whatever reason has like a strange obsession with this dude, and she is nuts. She's a psycho. All the other bad Inquisitor people tell her, stop being a psycho, just be like all the rest of us. And, you know, but he's going out, he finds Leia, then, you know, things happen, then he has to go get her again. But throughout all of that, like, he's constantly, like, scurrying around like a rat. You know what I'm saying? Like, trying not to get caught. He has that big confrontation, you know, with Darth Vader, which was, like, you know, super crazy. He got burnt up. And then we end up here on this episode, where, you know, like you guys said, it's just like it's episode 2, part 2, basically. So, like, it's following the same theme of, like, okay, he has to go save her, but at the same time, you know, he is out of place. He's out of place, like, you know, everyone says he's his grandmaster, whatever, but he's, like, out of place. He's clumsy, he's awkward, he's doing stupid things that make no sense or whatever. And then, you know, he gets her, and they fly away. And, oh, surprise, the bad guys have a way to get to them again, so we'll see them again. You know, it's like, it makes sense. That doesn't necessarily make it good, but it makes sense. And if I was someone that knew nothing about Star Wars, this show would kind of be like, the first couple episodes would be like, oh, okay. And then this one would be like, oh, okay. You know, all right. It's like the other episode, but okay. Now, you know, so now we know.
I feel like
Vader
it adds
knows.
nothing for fans, like new fans. I
Now-
feel like this show, like, to that point where what you just said is new people watching Star Wars, this does nothing. Like, it would just be another generic streaming show that's pushing content.
Star Wars
Yeah,
property
and
anybody's seeing.
That, yeah,
No,
I
yeah,
hope
no.
so too.
But to the point of, like, somebody who's, like, randomly watching it,
Right.
I would be like, I'm not interested. This is boring.
Yeah.
To be honest.
But see-
like, but for me, I'm compelled because I love Obi-Wan and I want and Darth Vader, this world. But even I am like, this is uninteresting.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna commit to it.
Well, I mean,
but that's the issue. It's uninteresting.
the premise all of us counted on is the tale of two brothers. You know, you are my brother, Anakin. Da da da. I mean, the premise we were looking at here was like getting the glimpse at how far apart these two brothers. The focus is these two brothers have come apart. That's kind of the premise. I think a lot of people felt. I mean. I guess felt they were owed would be the right term for how people felt. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the notion of Disney necessarily owing them anything, but I can't imagine that it's an adverse decision to put out a product that meets the expectations at large. And I feel like at this point, if the show is actually 2/3 done, it almost kind of feels like to pivot back to that would almost be a whiplash if it's done wrong, because we haven't really hit that at all. Like, Obi-Wan and Darth Vader have barely talked about what happened between them.
Yeah.
They really haven't. Like, for me, one of the most interesting things that could possibly happen in the show right now is that those two get stuck in a room with no lightsaber. To me, that's one of the most interesting things that could happen at this point.
Is conversation.
That made me think of something, Tim. What you were just saying made me think of something. Like when you said it's a tale of two brothers, and I feel like it's a really good way to put into context why people feel the way that they do about Reva and about the way that the story is going. Because to be honest, I never really, when I was coming into this, I mean, number one, I didn't really have much expectations. But what I definitely never thought about was this being a show that showed what both Ben and Darth Vader were doing, or like where they were kind of both at. Like, it never really crossed my mind. But with you saying that, I think now I understand better some of the frustrations that some people may have that had certain expectations, because then that would mean that Reva being in the place like that she is, the place of prominence that she is in the story, is what people thought Vader was going to be, right? So the amount of prominence like that she has in screen time that she has,
I see what you mean.
and written into the story as she is. I think that's what people thought Vader was going to be like, and instead of and so people were expecting it to be really a story between, Ben and Vader, but instead they're getting Ben, and they're also getting Leia, but really it seems like in certain ways she's just more of like a plot device, which feels like bad to say, but like now that I'm thinking about it, she feels like more of a plot device than anything else. So really it's Ben and Reva, and I think that like another added frustration is like even people that would be okay with it, Reva being in the place of prominence that she is, they haven't. There's a subtext to the dynamic between Obi-Wan and Vader, right? Between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Mm-hmm. That does not exist between Obi-Wan and Reva. No. And so because of that, a literal linkage has to be made. Whether it's through like expository or through, some better means than that, hopefully. But an explicit linkage has to be made. And we're now 4 episodes in, and literally nothing has been made. And so I think like now I'm starting to understand like more of where people are coming from as far as like diehard fans who may have been coming into this thinking that it was going to be thinking that it was going to be obviously heavy Obi-Wan, but also heavy Vader. I didn't think that that's what this was going to be, so it never crossed my mind. But I can understand now why people would be pissed that instead it's Reva, which is a character no one has ever heard of before, but also they've explained nothing about so far. So like I can I can get that.
Yeah, I can understand that too. For me, I think Reva is an interesting character on paper because she is, in some ways, personally, and feel free to disagree with me. I'm sure there are people out there who would look at me like I'm an absolute effing idiot for thinking this. But personally, I see Reva as kind of a darker reflection of how Anakin was under Ben's tutelage. Like Obi-Wan Kenobi constantly had to tell Ben, you're too reckless. You need to calm down. Stop doing this. Why did you just kill that droid? Why did you just... And she's lopping off limbs and having Sith tell her, you need to chill the F out, lady.
Yeah.
She's... I feel like she's kind of a reflection on what it would have been like had Anakin kind of started as a Sith in the first place. But again, it's one of those, and I find myself using this word a lot, as extrapolate. The show's not giving me that.
Right.
That's just kind of what I'm taking away from what I'm seeing in front of me. I'm pulling it out where it's not being given. Can I phrase that differently?
Get one more redo.
Can I
Took me a little second.
Dirty dog.
Can I let me try again in a way that doesn't make me sound like a monster. I'm extrapolating something that a piece of information that the show is not canonically giving me.
Right.
It's not outright telling me. And that information could be meaningless, really. I don't want to say the show doesn't have the guts, but maybe that is the right word. The show, I don't think, has the chutzpah to kill her before we know everything we need to know about her. I'm honestly wondering if the big showdown is even going to be between Obi-Wan and Vader. I'm starting to wonder if it's going to be between Reva and Vader.
I think that'll happen at the end. I really think they will get Obi-Wan and Darth, but Reva, I really think she's going to die by the hands of Vader. So maybe there will be like a cool fight scene.
I'm wondering if it's going to be like in the same way that Anakin turned from the light to the dark, if she's going to turn from the dark to the light and fight with him. Yeah. Each of them having crossed sides.
But they're just, even though like I was saying this about the show where it's like, we get some moments of her, being more than just stoic and cruel and dark. And even though majority of that is still in this episode, there's still little moments. But they're just little moments.
They are.
I haven't seen anything to justify her turning, right? And we're already halfway through.
And if those two do end up fighting each other, from what I just saw in this episode, there's no reason to believe she'd have a shot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
There's no way. That's
there's
why
no way.
That's why I don't think she's going to turn to the light side by the end. I feel like, and maybe there's another bet that I'll lose because I bet that this episode was going to be about her, and it definitely was not. But I would bet that like she's not going to turn by the end because to me it's just it's a little too on the nose, but also it just wouldn't make any sense. Because she has done some terrible things up till now, but this is what I will say about her character of things that I have seen. Yes, when it comes to when it comes to adults, she does not care. But when it comes to kids, because even in that episode when Vader was there and like breaking people's necks and stuff like that, when it came to the kid, she started to squirm. And when and even here, right? Like you see her, she's reasoning with Leia. Like she could just went straight to torture. But like she's asking Leia, and at a certain point before she goes to the torture thing, she's pleading with her, like, "Yo, like, come on, dog, like, just tell me." And she starts to get like emotional about it, like where she's like lashing out about it, but is like, "Dude, you do realize like now I have to just torture you, like, cause you won't just give it to me, you know?" And even when it came to the torturing thing, I mean, you could chalk it up to, it's like a common trope of the villain taking too long, and then, something serendipitously happens to save, the good guy. But it really seemed like she herself was stalling. Like, she could just had her hooked in there and then just press the button. But, like, she didn't.
Was Reva... Because she says that she put the tracker on the ship. She hacked the droid. We know it's evil because it glowed red at the end. Which,
right.
As anyone in the bad guy playbook knows, whenever
Right.
you bug someone else's machine, you put red LEDs in it. Was she... Am I supposed to believe that she planned on them getting away so that she could track them to their base?
That's what she said.
She let them go on purpose.
Yeah, she said she let them go.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean,
So they could just grab them right then and there.
To be fair, that is a move out of Vader's playbook, because there was a time when I can't remember which episode it was. It might have been 5 or 6,
Okay.
but where that where that you know, it's a meme now, but where it's like, it's an old code, sir, but it checks out, you know. But where it's like, he knew they were on that ship. He knew. But he let them pass. And that's when Luke was like, I'm endangering the mission. I shouldn't have come. You know, which is like that little reference that I was making earlier in the episode. But so I'm like, okay, you know, it like, I can see where it's like, okay, maybe they are making it to where, like, she in a way is like, I don't know, it's like there's certain things that she...
all that matters is Ben, though. Isn't that what she said? All that matters is Ben.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Isn't letting him go still a failure?
Yeah. it's
because I was a little bit mind boggled when she's being held up in the air.
Yeah.
And they're telling me, hey, all that matters is Ben. He wants revenge. She wants power. Whatever. This, that.
But see,
he's like about to kill her, and then she's like, but I bugged their ship. And he's like, you may have let them sneak her out in a trench coat and get out of the building unscathed, but you did track their ship. And then he says, I may have underestimated you. Which that line kind of hit me in the side of the head, because I was like, I don't know if you underestimated her in this situation, because she just let them walk right on out.
When you put Ben in a situation now where now he is literally the cause of all these people dying, which I'm pretty sure that's where it's gonna go. All these people are dead. I don't think any, like, this whole little operation and base of, like, Jedi being able to do, it's gone. I'm pretty sure by the end of Kenobi, it's all gone. All these people are dead. It's going to lead them to be even more effective with hunting the Jedi and all that. And I think that like, that's the thing that she understands about what Vader wants. I feel like she understands his actual intentions and his actual motives, not just what he's saying, but what he actually feels and what he actually wants. Because, like I said, she's shown herself to be very intuitive. Like, she's able to read feelings very well. And so I think that that's the other thing that the Inquisitors didn't quite get, because they're like, our mission is to hunt the Jedi. We must hunt the Jedi. And she's like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is what our boss actually wants. I know what he said, but this is what he actually wants. And I think that that's kind of what we're going to see very soon. Is I think we're going to see carnage. I think this next episode is going to be the Dark Night of the Soul episode. You know, as far as storytelling goes, I think we thought we saw a destroyed Obi-Wan, and I don't think we've seen that yet. I think this next episode, and I mean, my bet was wrong on this episode. And my bet was wrong that Tala would, like, not make it by the end of this episode. So I was wrong 0 for 2 this episode, but, like, I think that with the way that this is going, I think that the next episode I think that the next episode may be absolute carnage. And
well, is the second season confirmed?
No, it's just a mini series, and that's the thing. Like, my mind could change completely with how it ends, with just, the basis of these last two episodes. But it would be nicer if there was more than just 6 episodes. I feel like if there was 8, it could justify with what they're showing so far. But there's still 2. But even if, even with 2, but the thing is like this, even with 2 episodes, I don't think it's going to be justified enough, personally. Because, like, that's my issue. It's like, with what we've seen doesn't really warrant, and this goes back kind of like the whole point of, like, when you said, Tim, people should just then skip it. Like, if they don't want to check it out, just skip it. Then why make it? That's my issue. At the end of the day, it's like, why make something that's subpar? Obviously money, and they want more subscribers. That's the end goal for Disney. Subscribers, viewership, blah, 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 business, I get it. But why take months, years of your time to make this? That's my issue. And, like, to close this video, because we need to get to bed, and I got hours of editing ahead of me, but I'm concerned. And I I like Reva. I feel like I feel like her character has the potential of, like,
on paper, her character is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. But so far, with what they've shown, there are interesting aspects, and I like her performance. I think she's grown a little bit more, but not really anything captivating. And I think that's the thing. Like, there's moments that are captivating, like the fight scene between Anakin and Vader, and I Am What You Made Me, and him dragging him across the ground, and scenes in episode 1 where they're establishing him in this world in Tatooine, his depression, his PTSD, his nightmares. That's beautiful, but they're moments, and it doesn't really capitalize that throughout the entire series so far, and that's kind of my disappointment. It's like, here are these cool ideas, but let's just leave them at that. And let's move on. Let's go to Leia's subplot. Let's go to Reva's subplot. And then Obi-Wan, kind of. And even though it is an Obi-Wan show, but even in this episode, even though he does have, like, he has okay amount screen time, it weirdly doesn't feel like his show. In this episode specifically, it felt more like it was Reva's / Leia's, and Obi-Wan is around their story when it should be the other way around. That's my concern. That was my worry. That is my worry, sorry, for my overall feelings with the show, is that it feels like he's kind of just there to be, how you were saying, Leia's like a plot piece. Obi-Wan feels like that. Oh gosh, my mic. Obi-Wan feels like that within his own show. He feels like a plot piece in this episode. I'm not going to say overall, because, like I said, I won't judge the whole thing until I finish every single chapter. But right now, I really wish there was more episodes, because it doesn't feel like it's over halfway over. It really doesn't. It feels like it's
over.
Even worse. So overall, it seems like we're all feeling kind of the same way. I mean, I'm still intrigued to see, what happens next. Like, I feel like, like you said, this is going to be like the Dark Knight of this series, where vengeance will come down.
Dark Knight of the Soul, not Dark Knight of the series.
Dark Knight of the Soul, sorry.
There's
the Dark Knight of the Soul.
Big difference between
Big difference, sorry, my
two
bad.
things.
Dark Knight of the Soul, where it's going to be rain fire, it's going to be revenge, it's going to be brutal. I really hope that's the case, because I really don't know what else it could be. I really don't know. Like, a slow character development. Maybe it is the Reva, background
so
episode.
Weird, though, because Obi-Wan's character just went through 10 years of Dark Knight of the Soul.
I'd be inclined to agree, but I disagree in the fact that, like, he's been in seclusion. He hasn't been around other Jedi, and he hasn't necessarily been around the suffering of other Jedi or the suffering of other people, like, in a real, like, tangible or, like, meaningful way, like the same way that we saw like in that first episode where the Inquisitors came, effed people up.
I mean,
but like I feel like it's different when suffering is like directly caused because of you. And I know that, like, yes, he already feels that way because of the end of episode 3, but I mean like literally directly because you have been trying to save this girl, and because like you've been blundering your way through it. Now you're getting all these people killed. Now you're making it to where all these Jedi can get hunted. Now they have the key to everything and the path and all this yada 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 kind of stuff. So like that's where I feel like it'll get super bad, like for him, and where he'll be like super like beat. And I feel like that is when we'll get Qui-Gon. Now, listen. Again, I'm 0 for 2 this episode. My bets have been right in the past, but I'm 0 for 2 this episode. But I think that is what's going to happen. I feel like he's going to get destroyed. And I think that a bunch of people are going to die. And it's then that somehow we're going to work into Qui-Gon. And I feel like after that happens, I feel like then we're going to see a different Ben. A Ben that, like... A Ben that isn't a Ben because he's running away, right? A Ben that, like, understands that he's Obi-Wan Kenobi and like, he does this stuff and he goes back to being Ben, not to run away from being a Jedi, but in a way to where he can actually, like, protect Luke. You know what I'm saying? And I think that those are two different things for sure.
I feel like, yeah, I think that stuff's going to happen. Qui-Gon showing up, all this action happening. But now,
I think we hit a mid-story slump. I feel like
they have to do so much. They have to do so much in 2 episodes. I don't like that. I hate when things get rushed. And
I think there's a potential it can be done right. I think there's a potential it can be done right. There's also a potential it can be done wrong. I'm gonna place the bet in the opposite and say that it's gonna be done right. That's where I'm gonna place, my wager for now.
But then the question is, was it worth the journey to get to those moments we wanted? Was that worth it? And that's what I always ask for certain shows, where it's like, did it really need 20 episodes? Did it really need 10? Did it really need to be a 3-hour movie? And there's certain moments where it's like, yes, it did warrant that runtime. And for this, I feel like it needs more time to flesh out these big ideas that they want to go for. Like Deborah,
I feel the opposite.
I almost feel like this could have been, had they kind of like trimmed the fat, whether that means taking out extraneous plot points or removing characters. I think this could have been done in 4.
No, yeah. I agree with you in the sense of trimming it, but for what we have now, like the reality is, for what we have now, you need like 2 more episodes, not 6. Yeah. We need 8. This should be a halfway point, but it's not. And but I do agree. I do think
Rich is dying over there.
It's just
I don't.
We gotta end this video because we gotta end this because it's already been an hour, but. Guys, what are your thoughts? Comment down below. We are somewhat intrigued. I mean, I'm still kind of excited for next week.
I'm 2/3 into it. I'm going to finish it.
I'm not done. Yeah, we're not done. It's just
I'm not gonna be like, well, it's been fun, guys. You guys finish it without me.
Yeah, it sucked, or it was actually worth it. Those last 2 episodes. Yeah,
the show would have to be like really boring for me to, not just like bad, but like forgettably monotonously boring. That's like what it would have to be for me to be like, well.
Well, Obi-Wan, still intrigued. I'm excited to see where it ends, and I hope it ends well. But like I said, comment below, let us know your thoughts. Please don't forget to like this video, and also don't forget to subscribe. And most importantly, don't forget to be blessed.